Hi, I'm Katie Robert, and I am doing an interview with Bitten by Books, and I will try to be super entertaining and not entirely awkward, but I make no promises because, yay, I'm terrible at this, at being, professional and poised and whatever. I'm super awkward, so you see, I don't even know what I'm doing with my hands. We're just gonna run with it. So, questions and answers, um, which is how an interview works, apparently. Go figure. Okay, so please tell us more about Queen of Swords and the storyline that drives it. Alright, so Queen of Swords is my sci-fi romance that came out May 27th. It is the story of basically the hero's Boone. His name's Boone. He is the exiled heir to the planet Hansarda, and his half-brother, who's about to take the throne, coincidentally, is kind of a sadistic bastard, like, cut people up sadistic bastard. Like, he's not someone you want to meet when you're walking down a dark alley. And Boone will do absolutely anything to make sure, his people don't fall into the hands of this guy. And even though he doesn't really want the throne himself, which is why he decides to kidnap, heroically, the woman who his half-brother is supposed to marry or planning on marrying, this gunrunner named Ophelia. Now, Ophelia is not anything like Boone expects. She's kind of a badass, actually. She's a diviner, which means she uses tarot cards to commune with her goddess, the lady, and basically to like divine out what her life, choices she's supposed to make. But she's not too keen on being kidnapped, and so there's a lot of conflict between the two, and then they kind of realize that, holy crap, maybe we should stop fighting each other and start fighting the big bad. So the story is the journey of how they get to point A to point B and, come up with this really questionable plan on how to take out their enemies. And it's high on the entertainment level. It's pretty sexy and full of action and shenanigans. Very much on the shenanigans side. I had fun writing it, that's for sure. Well, how many more books will there be in this series? Well, there are going to be a total of 3 full-length books, Queen of Swords, Queen of Wands, and Queen of Pentacles. And then there's a novella that is actually the story of Ophelia's parents and how they got together, because her mother is a diviner, just like her, and her father was a lieutenant of Sanctify, which is the big bad of the entire series. Like, they are not good people at all. So it's this story of how they got together in the novella, and kind of sets up the whole series, but it's not like necessary reading. You can pick up any of the books and totally know what's going on. What sets Queen of Swords apart from other books in the same genre? This question's always very difficult for me, but the most obvious point of this is that the heroine reads tarot cards, and not only does she read tarot cards, but if she does not follow what they advise or are telling her, then there's these horrible consequences. For example, at the beginning of Queen of Swords, she just is trying to recover from the fact that she didn't listen to a card reading, and her entire crew died. They died pretty horrifically, and for as far as she's concerned, it's her fault because she didn't do what a diviner is supposed to do. So it's this kind of doomsday thing that hangs over the entire book and the series in general, is these card readings that come up that have to be done. And if you might not like what they say, they might say something that's really terrible, like you're about to lose what you wanted the most in the world, or what have you, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. So where in our world, you read or you get your cards read, and that's cool, and some people believe, some people don't, it could go either way. In this world, it's like a truth, like a fundamental truth for these diviners, that these cards are real. And it's not necessarily something that I've seen in sci-fi up to this point, because it's almost mystical in the way that it works. So, of course I can't write a sci-fi that's just hardcore science. There's got to be tarot card readings or other stuff. There's other stuff, but that's the big main twist, I guess. How do you keep track of your world building? Well, I have a serious Bible, because if it was left up to me, I would not even remember anything, as evidenced by the first book before it went through edits. It was just a hot mess. I have a map. I have a map of my warp points, which is how they get around the universe, and how many hours it takes to get from the warp point to the planet near it. And just lots and lots of notes, because turns out you don't remember these things from one book to the next. You're like, oh man, that person's cool. I'm going to describe him as like a caterpillar, when you described him as an angry hedgehog last book. Like, just, it's good. Notes are good. A series Bible is even better, because you can just go like, oh, here's this alien. I'm going to look them up. Oh, here's the history of their planet that you created like 2 years ago. Good job, Past Katie. Notes are key. So, what types of creatures, characters can readers expect in your world? A vast variety, actually. We have everything from, the humans, which are all over the place, because as humans do, we populate like bunnies, apparently. And then you have just diverse alien races, from anything from the bulk, see angry hedgehog, except they're like 8 feet tall and have these spikes that, could impale you. To the Abura Sumashi, which are my personal favorites, because they're this warlike, or not warlike, they're very warring, like this race of aliens that they don't take kindly to strangers coming onto their planets, and they have no problem murdering you if you, edge off where you're not supposed to be. And they contract out as mercenaries, and they're like, have one of the most feared reputations in the universe. But no one really knows much about them beyond the fact that they are feared, and you do not mess with these people. So yeah, we get into that in book 3, and it's so exciting for me because I love them so much. Are you a plotter or a pantser or a planter? I am a planter, and that's way better than the term I use for it. I started off as a pantser, but it turns out that when people agree to publish your books, they kind of like to know what happens next. And saying, oh, cool stuff, some sexy good times and explosions, and, maybe somebody dies. They're like, okay, that's great, Katie, but I need to know details, or, at least some beats of like how this book arcs over, to make sure that it's not total crap. Understandably so. So I've had to kind of become this hybrid of both, which actually really works for me, strangely enough. I never thought it would. But I plot out the big beats of the story, and that kind of keeps me like on the tracks of where I need to be, and then I pants basically to how I get from plot to plot point. It works. It's because I don't necessarily know all the little details, but I know the big bits, and the big bits are the important bits because they keep you where, on your arc. The arc's important. Do you set a daily word count goal, time limit goal, or just go with the flow? Back to, people agreeing to publish your books. They really like when they give you a deadline, like you need to turn in this book on this date. They really like it when you make those. So I tend to, and I love deadlines. They make me happy because it's a very clear boundary of like, this is your drop dead date. You need to have this book done like this date. And I usually try to get it in the month before, because I get anxious when I get too close to them. So the word goal changes depending on how close that date is. Generally, I try to hit like 3,000 words a day. It's a nice chunk, so you're moving forward at a pretty steady pace, even if it doesn't necessarily feel like it at the time. And you can write a full book in, not in, like a month. Like a month, you could write a decent sized book with that. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. Sometimes it's like pulling fingernails and you just want to go, drink some wine and cry because it sucks. And sometimes you write 10,000 words and you're just like, yay, this book's awesome. The most important thing is just getting that first draft down so you can fix all the things wrong with it, which there are always things wrong with it. Okay, so what's coming up for you for the rest of 2014? I am so glad you asked. So like I said, Queen of Swords just came out on the 27th. Queen of Wands, the second one, comes out June 24th. So there's like very little wait. By the time you pick it up and read it, the second book will almost be here. That's cool. That's super cool. I have a continuity with the Entangled Brazen imprint with Tessa Bailey, Samantha Beck, Diane Alberts, and then Laura Kay wrote the prequel, which is so exciting. Super exciting. But it's all happens over a 5-day period. They're all category length novels, so like full length for that category. And they all happen over the same 5-day period, and they're all bridesmaids and groomsmen that are all intertwining and shenanigans. Oh, it's so cool. I get really geeked out talking about it, so I highly recommend checking it out. And then I have a few other Brazens showing up in summer into fall. And then some more Brazens in winter and, you know, all the Brazens. So if you like sexy contemporary, I highly recommend you check it out. And if you like, you know, shenanigans in your sci-fi, I highly recommend you check out the Sanctify series. Thank you so much for having me and for letting me just chat on like a crazy person. I hope you have a fantastic day. And if you have questions, I think there's a question thingy down here. So, bye.